This next conversation is for a very specific and often very frustrated group of singers. If you have ever been classically trained and tried to cross over into contemporary styles, you know exactly what I'm about to say. You open your mouth, and no matter what you do, it still sounds operatic. And you're like, why is this so hard to change? Our next speaker has made it her mission to solve that exact problem. Dr. Dionne Napier is a former opera singer turned contemporary voice specialist with a doctorate in vocal performance and an accomplished career performing with organizations like Cincinnati Opera, Kentucky Opera, and internationally in Austria. She understands deeply what it means to be classically trained at a high level and then realize you need a completely different sound for today's industry. And more importantly, she knows how to help you get there. In our conversation from classical to contemporary, the journey back to your origin voice, we're going to unpack what's really happening when singers feel stuck between styles. And she's going to walk you through the first steps to releasing ingrained classical habits, how to recalibrate your vocal coordination, and how to reconnect with a sound that feels natural, current, and expressive. This is about finding your way back to your voice without losing the skill you've built. So, if you ever felt stuck between technique and authenticity, this conversation is going to bring you a lot of clarity. Please help me welcome Dr. Dionne Napier. Hello, hello. There you are.
Hi,
Welcome.
Danielle. Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you because, just like I said in your introduction, this is so relevant for just about any singer that's gone through academia, including myself. I was
Yeah.
classically trained as well, but took a completely different path. Once, as soon as I left school, it was like, okay, well, you're never doing that again. That's not always the case for everyone, but it was for me. But I'd
Yeah.
love to just start things off and tell us how bridging the gap between classical and contemporary kind of became your mission as a music educator.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, it became my mission because it was my lived experience, Danielle. So I started out in music as a kid. I was born in a small town. I was around a lot of music. My dad was a musician. He played guitar, and my earliest memories of like singing is just sitting on his lap while he's strumming and I'm singing. And I could mimic anything I heard. I remember that freedom. I remember having that ear and I could just like hear and do. So that is where music began with me. There was no formal training. And then that, in addition to my church upbringing, of course, I sang in the choir, and I love singing in the choir. Now, I went to a Methodist church, so it was a lot of hymn singing. It wasn't a lot of, spirit filled kind of contemporary stuff. It really was more aligned classically. But there were a few years where we did get a music director that was more into contemporary gospel. So this is like Kirk Franklin and Hezekiah, like the black gospel choir, and that music just filled me up, and I would sing, and it was just easy. I remember that. So I transitioned to university in 2003. I went to audition for a music scholarship, but I was going to go to school for entertainment law. I wasn't trying to sing. But when I auditioned, one of the university professors pulled me to the side and she said, "Have you ever considered doing performance? You have a really good voice." And I was like, "No, I haven't, but I guess I could." I had no idea that was going to be opera. I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm going to go continue keep singing my gospel and just get a little foundation under that." So no, that wasn't the case. So I studied classical, and I liked it. It was cool. I loved the languages and all of that. But my first private voice instructor, she told me, she said, "Now, if you're going to be serious about studying classical, you got to come out that gospel choir." And I was kind of like, huh? What do you mean I got to come out? But I was 18. I didn't know any better. And so I came out of the gospel choir. And so she gave me that directive in 2003, and I stayed out of the gospel choir till 2020. So that's 17 years not accessing that sound that I did so easily in my earlier years. And so I went through school, I did the whole thing, and once I graduated in 2012, I was engaged to be married. I was like, okay, I got the doctorate, I did the whole thing, but I don't love this. I said, this is something I can do, but I'm not called to do this. So I was left like, okay, I got the degree, so what do I do? So I went into a sales job and started doing that, but I taught lessons on the side. So here's the thing, I'm teaching students, but these students don't want to sing Caro Mio Ben, baby. They want to sing the pop music of the day, and I didn't have the skill set to do that. So I'm in there winging it with this bel canto technique, right? And I could kind of get by because I had kind of good instincts, but I didn't have the right tools. And that started to bother me, and I could see it on their faces. They were kind of checking out when we're doing like 4 weeks on breath. They're like, what? I just want to sing. So that was one thing, and I was like, okay, I need to get some more skills, but I didn't know what to get. I didn't know what really what I needed, because I didn't know contemporary actually had a technique. So I would do these musical theater reviews in my local town, and they would have me try to get me to sing stuff from Hamilton. They would try to get me to sing stuff from The Color Purple, Broadway shows and stuff. And I'm like, y'all, I can't sing that music. I don't sound right. I'm in a head dominant coordination. Like, I can't sing that music. And it started to make me mad. And I was like, God, why can I not sing like I used to sing when I was a kid? So that's what sent me on a journey. I went and I was like, I've got to figure this out. I found a coach on YouTube. I don't even remember what I typed in, but I found her, and she was in Nashville, and I went to her, and in 50 minutes, she got me into the sound that I couldn't access for 17 years. And that's how this changed. That's how going through those frustrations, going through really some of that grief of not being able to tap back into that childhood sound, that's how I got to where I am today. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to create a business around this. I'm not just going to be a general vocal coach. I'm specifically going to target those classical singers, because I feel like in the online world of coaching, that group of people a lot of people are not talking to them. And I'm like, that's what I've lived. So these are my people, and this is who I'm coming to get. So that's how I got there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there is no shortage of people to talk to. I think your story is so common amongst people who have trained classically. And this is none of this conversation is throwing shade at the classical vein of music whatsoever. It's more just coming from the fact that I think it's often unknown to some singers when they enter that world that there is a great distinction between technique in the classical world and contemporary world. There is a right way to do it in classical, and then it's a different story when you come over to contemporary music. But I am so glad you are out in the world serving up this ministry. Speaking of ministries, one of your other passions is mentorship and caring for the souls of classical singers. So talk to us about how you integrate this into your voice training method.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. So while I came out of the gospel choir, I never came out of the black church, honey. Like, she wasn't going to pull me out of that. So I was going to church. I was singing Mozart by day and singing Dorinda Clark at night, or listening to it, And so what I noticed in the church realm and also in academia, I noticed that gifts were often rewarded and highlighted and praised. But the souls of the individual, like the person, was not really honored. The person was underdeveloped. The person was depressed, but they had a really good gift. So there's these highs and lows. And I started to notice that, and it started to bother me when I was in transition between the university and out. I did ministry on the side, like an itinerant minister, and particularly it was like discipleship, but I was doing inner healing and deliverance ministry, helping people identify spiritual root causes of things that they were experiencing in their life. That's what I did, in addition to helping people hear the voice of God. So I have always wanted more in my life. So when I was singing classical music, I was like, there's got to be more. This is not it. When I was going to that dead dry church, I was like, there's got to be more. You know what I mean? I've always just wanted that. And so that is the ministry that I did. And then there was one day that a voice came to me and said, I want you to integrate this into your business model. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's separate. That's Dion the minister, that's separate. And then these are the classical singers. And he said, no, I want you to bridge that. Why? Because many of these classical singers are dealing with word curses from mean voice teachers. They're dealing with words that choir directors have said to them. Seventh grade, they told them they couldn't sing, and that stuff is still streaming in the back of their mind. And when they try to go sing now, they're getting choked out. Do you know what I mean? Body shaming, all of these soul wounds and things that can happen even in an academic environment that can often be really competitive and really toxic sometimes. And nobody's talking to that. Nobody's dealing with that. But so that's why I want you to integrate that. And that's what is going to be your difference in the marketplace. Not just that you talk to classical singers, but you're bringing in this soul healing and deliverance from a biblical perspective. And these singers are going to be made whole from the inside out. So once they can heal their soul, their voice, their sound is going to shift. So that's how I integrate it. And a lot of how I do that is through deliverance, if they will let me do it, taking them through a process, going through some of the, asking questions and getting to the root. And we do it through prayer and declarations. That's how we do it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like coming into alignment with your values and what you do. And really, that is what this summit is about. That's why I keep talking about, having these different pathways all make sense. And when we know that there's a gap there, that's the key to the block that and you discovered that. And so now here you are on fire out in the world as a vocal coach. So going back to our singers, though, what would you say is one of the most common roadblocks that opera singers encounter, when they're retraining for contemporary styles?
Perfectionism. Without a doubt, perfectionism. But I will say there is this fear of rejection that the sound won't be accepted. But in our defense, we've been trained to not trust our gut sound anymore. Because it's gone. It's all head voicing now. We can't get to that speech sound anymore. So we don't even trust what our origin sound is anymore. So the perfectionism thing, it carries over strong from classical singing, and so, when I'm working with singers and I'm trying to get them to make ugly sounds, make it less pretty, it's a real struggle. Because it's like, if I make an ugly sound, then that reflects on me. No, it doesn't. Your gift and your person are not the same. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how I teach and that's how I coach. So the way that I help them to overcome that is just simple 5 questions. And I did this myself. I don't teach anything that I haven't walked through myself. I'm always the first partaker. So what I used to hear in my head was, your voice won't be accepted in non-classical spaces. That's what I would hear. When I was going to my church and everybody singing this hard gospel, I would always hear, you can't get up there and sing with them. Your voice doesn't fit. It's not going to be accepted. They're not going to appreciate what you do, or it's not going to sound right. So the first thing that you want to do, you want to identify the lie. Put words to it. What are the words that you're hearing in your mind? And y'all that are watching, you can get a little piece of paper and just write this. What is the lie that you're hearing in your mind? You have to identify it. Write it down. The second step is to uncover the source. So I would ask you all, who told you that? Was it academia? Was it a voice teacher? Is it tradition? Are you telling yourself that out of fear? Who told you that? What is the source? The third thing that you want to do is renounce the lie, which means you come out of agreement and you verbally declare, I no longer agree that my voice will not be accepted in non-classical spaces. That's what I did. Whatever your mind block is, you speak that. The fourth step is to announce the truth. So I would say, I announce that my voice is versatile. I'm not singing through any frameworks. I can make all types of sounds. I just had to speak that until it became reality. And then the fifth step is to rehearse that truth every day. You have to speak that every day. And in addition to that, you want to get the skills to really be able to do it. But that's where you start. If you can turn over those thought patterns, if you can get that mind aligned, the voice stuff is gravy. Yes, it takes time, but if the mindset is right, the voice will follow that.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful. I love that. I am going to take I'm taking mental notes right now, but everybody watching, definitely write those steps down. That's such an amazing process that can be carried over and layered onto so many different things.
Yes.
So, that obviously is just kind of foundational to getting started with this. But what would you say are some of the steps that opera singers and voice teachers need to make to get, more contemporary sound in their classically trained voices?
Yeah, for sure. So once we dig up all the mental stuff, the first thing is that you again have to reframe the mindset to seeing yourself as a storyteller first, not just a singer first. Because when you transition into to contemporary music, it's not just presentational, it is conversational. You have to be excellent at knowing how to tell a compelling story, to move an audience. If you're performing with a band or something, you have to be you or get comfortable with initiating a feel or a groove or setting an atmosphere. You have to get used to that. It's not all about your voice and your pretty sounds. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you want to reset your ears. I typically say your oral perceptions, because if the classical has you doing a lot of head voice singing, that sometimes when you go back and listen to, not sometimes, a lot of times, when we go back and just listen to contemporary music, we have no idea what we're hearing. We don't know registration. We can kind of hear chest and head, but that mixy stuff, we don't know if it's a head mix, a chest mix. We're not really aware of glottalized onsets versus aspirate onsets. Do you know what I'm saying? Breathy tones on the bottom. Like, we just really don't know what we're hearing. So that would be the second practical step. You need to reset your ears first. Don't just go in singing first. Let me be professional. Don't go in singing first, but you want to reset your ears. Listen. And a practical way to do that is start with the Fab Five list. So Fab Five means select the 5 vocalists that have most influenced you. You may have to go back to your childhood, because you may be really disassociated from this music, but go back to your childhood. Who did you like? The 5 artists, and then start to identify, what do you like about them? Is it their tone? Is it they just riff like a beast and you love that? Is it their phrasing? Just start to identify what you love and do a lot of listening. The third step is going to be actually retraining the voice. And what I start most classical singers with, especially my females, is getting them into pharyngeal resonance out of that pure head voice. Because pure head voice, you're not going to sound contemporary if all you got is that. You have to learn how to tap back into primal sounds making. So pharyngeal resonance, primal sound equivalent, is just a baby cry. Wah! Wah! It's those bratty, cartoon, ugly sounds that really act as a disruptor. And that's why I start with that. It disrupts that perfection. It disrupts that, oh, I have to do everything beautiful. No, you don't. You're about to cry like a baby. And it takes humility. You're about to quack like a duck. It takes humility, because remember, we got degrees, we got doctorates, we're intellectuals and all of that. And now we got to, with all them degrees, go back to making baby sounds. It's a humbling process. But if you would do it, it will change your life. It really will. So we're talking about what are the practical steps. So go back to primal sound making. These are sounds that are hardwired into every human being by God. These are, again, cries, sighs, even your yell. Hey, that's your belt. You know what I'm saying? Those are things. Vocal fry, even. Don't be scared of vocal fry, y'all. Vocal fry is morning voice. Right? Or when you're really tired and you don't feel like getting up. It's that. It's going back and reactivating those coordinations. And then you want to start mimicking. So you take that Fab Five list and you pick one of those artists and you listen to a little bit of it. You press pause and then you try to imitate it. That's the best way for classical singers to start exploring more of what their voice can do again and get them reconnected to their origins. It's just by imitating. Why? Because you don't have to think about, oh, it's not perfect. It's not you. You're just mimicking what you hear. That's it. So those are the steps that I take singers through in the beginning. It's reconnecting with those primal sounds. And then the final thing I'll say, I'm looking at my time. The final thing I'll say is reconnecting with that chest voice. Because especially ladies, that chest voice is stripped. Academia has hijacked your chest voice, baby. And you got to have that in pop singing. You have to have a chest voice in contemporary. You're primarily in chest voice in pop music. And so we have to go back and reclaim that chest voice. Why? Because that chest voice is your spoken register. That spoken register is identity. We know who you are by hearing your voice and how you speak. So we got to go back and recover that. It's a deep work. But it's powerful. If people will commit to the process, it's powerful.
Yeah. Very deep work. So many layers to that. And I'd like to get your perspective on when it comes to a classical singer trying to find their unique sound, because in classical music the standard is set, the bar is set, the example, the model is set, and we're trying to rise to that sound mostly. I mean,
I got
obviously
you.
there's lots around this, but in the contemporary music, your unique sound is one of a kind. And how do you, where do you start with that with singers? Or what's your take on that?
I start with the Fab Five list.
Yeah.
When I ask singers to bring me their Fab Five, that's a picture to me of what their voice either can do or what it wants to do.
Yes.
That gives me an outline or it gives me a visual. You know what I mean? And so you start with that. And like Rosette was talking about yesterday, you borrow the things that you like and you insert it into what you're doing. You're not going to sound like exactly like that artist. You can never sound exactly like anybody but you. But that's where you start. You have to identify what you like. What do you like about this artist? Their tone, again, their tone, their riffs, their ability to sing with power, their phrasing, and you start to incorporate that into what you're doing. And really, it's giving yourself permission to choose. Classical singers have not been able to choose, again, because the performance practice is you pretty much sing what's there, you know? And so now coming into this commercial music world, it's like, you can kind of do whatever. You are running it. You're initiating. But a lot of times they don't even know how to choose. So we have to go through that process of like, it's okay to choose stuff. But that practically, that's how you start. Start with that Fab Five and pull
I
from that.
love that. That's awesome. Um, I would love to go to the chat if anybody has some questions, if you're cool with taking some questions from everybody.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, while we wait, I'm going to drop a link here that you have provided to us. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about following your work, where you'd like people to follow you, socials, all of the important things for us to know.
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. I do have pages on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel too if you like long form content. But I'm active on Instagram. I'm a relational business person, voice coach. I like to talk to people. So Instagram, I can send a voice note, you know. But this link down here is for anybody who wants to schedule a 20-minute strategy call with me and just talk more about what I've shared. If something is bubbling up in you and it's like, ooh, I need to know. I'm here for the classical singers. I am here for y'all. And y'all are my tribe, you know? So yeah, if you're trying to belt and you feel like you're getting choked and you can't, we could talk about that. You know, if you need clarity around any of the things that I've shared, the technical things, we can talk about it. Or if you just need help finding a way forward, if there are mental blocks that you have coming from the academic world, we can talk about it. So that link is just to schedule a call to connect. That's what it is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tina has a question. She says,
Okay.
is it okay that it feels like forever to be comfortable in the chest register? Meaning, I'm taking that to mean, is that normal for it to take a long time to get comfortable or recomfort?
Uh, I think some of that is psychological, honestly. I do. I mean, you have to go back and retrain it, but the singers that I work with, it's not like it takes, you know, an extensive amount of time. But you do need to have certain exercises that you do and just target it. You just isolate it. You know, now when she says chest voice, you know, I think about the chest being subdivided. Like there's a lower chest voice and then you get that upper chest voice, like starting at the bridge on E4, going up to B4, like that belt region. Now that's different. That takes a little more time to coordinate. But no, I think it may be some type of psychological block there if it's taking a really long time, because the muscles will respond if you give them the right exercises and if you do the frequency, that it should be fine. So I guess my question would be, why does she think it's taking a long time? Like
Yeah.
somebody listen. Oh my God, that's such an old recording. But thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tina, if you want to elaborate on your question, that's go. Oh, she says it feels like I have to really think to connect to chest register. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's again, chest register is just your speech range. It's your
Hmm.
speaking register. So reconnect to your speech impulse. You may want to start with speaking the phrase first. So if you're doing something, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Just start with that speech impulse first, maybe. That's a strategy I use a lot too. And then just
I
take it
think
up.
that beautiful, straightforward way to deliver that. And I think too, and I'm sure you find this with singers that you work with. If you're getting one perspective all the time in the same direction, that doesn't seem to be moving the needle for you. Get some different perspectives because sometimes it
Absolutely.
takes different language for that information to land for you and to make
Correct.
sense. So,
Totally.
if you've never heard someone explain it the way that Dion just did about just saying it and then
Yeah.
sing saying it,
That's it.
that's such a straightforward, understandable. How do you go about assigning contemporary rep? I do it with classical and theater rep, but not as well as contemporary.
I don't assign rep.
Yeah.
I don't assign it. Bring in what you want to sing. Again, you got the Fab Five. If you
Hmm.
have no clue where to start, go to your Fab Five. Those are people you like. You know there's something. Now, a lot of times the songs are more advanced than where the person is. So I get that. And I do have playlists in my programs. So I have playlists based on, like, if we're working on heady mix. These are some examples of some heady mix non classical songs that you can practice. I do have those playlists available, but I don't pick songs for my students. They bring in what they want to sing.
Freedom. I love it. Oh my gosh. Dion, this has been amazing. I am so thrilled that we connected and had you here at the Singer Summit. I know that you've
Yes.
attended before, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
great to have you here on the stage with us.
Thank you.
And we will definitely have you back in the future if you'd like to come back.
Yeah.
But thank you. Everybody,
You're
grab her
welcome.
link and follow Dion on all the socials and get involved in her work. All right. We're going to head over to the next session. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Danielle. See you guys. Bye
Okay,
bye.
take care.